him. Yay!
Yay.
All right, just a few technical difficulties, which isn't unusual in the land of live video, especially when we keep trying to get together, Gray, and we have never been in the same room. I consider you a friend and a very respected colleague in the radio world because we hosted a radio show together, but we have never, and now we're getting worse. You're further away than you've been before.
True.
I finally see your face and we're further away. So everybody, I want to introduce you to Grey Stafford. I have such respect for him. You're going to find out he's a really super cool guy, but he is an animal behavior specialist. He's an author. We give you some of the stuff that he's actually co-hosted with me. And I have to be honest with you, you may have seen him on TV, and he's definitely worked with bigger names than I have. Whatever. So true. So true. So he has had the pleasure of bringing animals into talk shows and things like that. And, you know, to me, it looks like that's the best part of your job. It just looks like so much fun to be able to do that. But he also, like right now, you are where you kind of started working with dolphins, right? You're at Dolphin Quest in Hawaii?
I am. We're actually here for a special occasion for my wife's special birthday this weekend. And so, but what better way to do that than go back to one of my earliest facilities here at Dolphin Quest Oahu, which is at the beautiful Kahala Resort, just on the other side of Diamond Head from Waikiki. And the reason I'm trying to not show my giant skull is behind me is part of the lagoon where the dolphins live. And where I spent a number of years working with trainers, and they're just getting their day started here because it's only about 8:15 or so. But
I know you're out there early. It's beautiful, though.
It is.
It's beautiful.
It rained a little bit this morning early, but just like Hawaii, you know, it rains and then the sun comes out and it rains. It's just a beautiful place to be. And over the next few hours, the trainers will be out here working with the animals, working with guests. And so hopefully every once in a while, a dolphin will surface and take a breath here. And that's why I'm trying to show you this wider angle.
Oh, I appreciate that. So already,
you don't need to see me. You need to see the dolphins.
Okay, everybody watching, keep your eyes peeled behind him for a dolphin surfacing. But one of the things that was interesting too is you don't just work with dolphins. You did start with that. That is a passion of yours, the marine mammals. But your book and a lot of the comments that you've done, because he's been in the media an awful lot, you guys, Gray, has been really around positive reinforcement. You wrote your book called Zoomility. I posted it on the page, the Charismatic Cowgirl page a little earlier this week. And you wrote that really specifically to talk about positive reinforcement. And I was hoping that we'd only have a couple minutes with you today, but I wanted to be able to just kind of share a few wisdom nuggets from you on exactly, I had too much caffeine out of the chocolate perhaps. But I wanted you to be able to share with us some of your insight on human-animal interaction, and was it a different thing for you to come in with this positive behavior, working with the animals that you did? And the book was actually designed to help people with their cats and dogs, although you've been using this method of training since you started working with the marine mammals. So
that's true.
Tell us a little bit about was it a different technique than other people were using, or did you just find that this is what worked for you the best?
It truly was a different technique. You know, it's easy today in today's world of using clickers. A lot of horse trainers, dog trainers, bird trainers are using the clicker approach, which is reinforcement based. But 30 years ago, dog training in particular was very heavy-handed. And I know that some of that still exists, too much of it exists. But when I started at SeaWorld and outside of Cleveland almost 30 years ago, I entered a bubble of training. And it was all about going and getting paid really to have fun and reward and build on the success that the animals were doing. And then I would go home and train my puppy using more traditional methods because I didn't make the connection way back then that what we did with Shamu and Clyde and Seymour and the dolphins could also work at home with our pets. And it was only over a course of the first few years of working at SeaWorld and being immersed in this bubble of, hey, let's just have fun. Let's focus on the positive behaviors the animals are doing, and let's not pay attention to the mistakes, and they'll take care of themselves. That's what really got that process going. And people like Ken Ramirez, formerly of Shed Aquarium, now with clicker training, people like Karen Pryor, and many others helped take those lessons learned from the zoo community and the marine mammal community in particular and apply them to all sorts of animal professions and to domestics at home. And that's really what's exciting for me, Sandra, right now, because that revolution has taken place over the last 25 years. And you see it so much now that My wife, here's a good example. My wife is a HR trainer. She's been in the corporate world for many years, and now she spends her time teaching business students and others. And she uses examples to teach them how to treat their employees in a better way and more successful way, to encourage successful behaviors with employees by referring to how you would train your dogs. And that change has happened in the last 20 years because, 30 years ago, I would say, let's use the golden rule when we're training our pets. Well, now the message is let's use how we train our pets to train our employees. So we've come full circle, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, and I see that when we're working with the horses, the Charismatic Cowgirl program. I see that we try to reinforce that because everything that people go through when they're working with their equine partner, they're building that relationship, learning that communication, and asking a lot of times for something from their equine partner. And they have to think about how to get that across and reinforce the good things. And it's very interesting because the big lesson comes when we sit around in what we call a circle up and we talk about how we can apply it to our interhuman relations. It's not just our horses and dogs and cats and marine mammals in your case, but it is how do we take that lesson and apply it. I love that your wife is doing that. And by the way, you guys, Gray was one of the scientific minds that I called when I was launching Charismatic Cowgirl, because I do rely on zoology, biopsychology, and a lot of different behaviors that he is very familiar with. And being from the world that he's in, I called and I ran by him what I was doing and how we're doing it with Charismatic Cowgirl. And I just want to thank you for your thumbs up on that, Gray. So that made me feel so much better because I do refer to the science a lot. And I said, we get in our own heads, we get in our own ways. Everybody does it. I do it too. And we look at each other sometimes and think, this is exactly what you should be doing. But in our own minds, we come up with every reason to get afraid. And so thank you for helping to distill some of that fear.
Well, you started this interview talking about the human-animal bond and as well as the human-human bond. They're so important. With 7 billion plus humans on the planet, we have a relationship with wildlife and with domestic animals. And whether or not that relationship is going to be one based on success and sustainability, or whether it's going to be about extinction and loss of biodiversity, will largely hinge upon that relationship that we're building with animals, whether we're in farming, whether we're working with horses more gently, whether we're with our pets at home. We play a role in animals' lives just as animals play a role in our lives. And the more we can figure out some of these lessons in a gentle, more humane way, using reinforcement, to me, everyone benefits. And so I'm excited about the future. And Sandra, I know our time is limited, but I want to just pan down to my T-shirt for just 1 second.
Yes, I know what you're wearing.
This is the most culminating aspect of reinforcement training from a zoo community to helping our wild cousins and back. And I'm just going to pan down, pardon my beer belly, but this is the Vaquita. And this T-shirt is brand new from our friends at Peppermint Narwhal. They gave it to me recently. And the Vaquita has the sad distinction of being the world's most endangered marine mammal. But right now, scientists and animal managers and wildlife researchers and members of the Mexican government, U.S. government, and others are out in the Sea of California, in the Gulf of California, looking for the world's vaquita. They're going to collect them, put them into sea pens along the coastline for safekeeping, even as we sort out some of our poaching issues with the totuaba fish and so forth, some of those sustainable use issues. But they're out there using trained Navy dolphins to find and locate their wild cousins, the vaquita, to identify them, and then hopefully go out and collect them safely. And that's what, to me, is the full circle here, because I think this is a model for future species, because the vaquita, sad to say, is not going to be the last marine mammal that's going to need human intervention. And now we're using trained dolphins through positive reinforcement to go out there, find their cousins through echolocation and identify where they are so that the humans can go in and save it. To me, that is a multi-species conservation. There's a dolphin!
Yeah, I see one! Perfect timing! Right on cue!
Yeah, it's like a Hollywood story. And I'm so excited about this Vaquita project because just 2 days ago, there was an announcement made that they actually found their first Vaquita. They were able to collect it and do a health assessment on animal. It was a calf, and so they decided to put that animal back in the wild, right, to release it. But they gathered some valuable information, and they proved that this process could work. Now the trick will be to have better weather and sustainable funding to go out there and collect as many of them as they can to preserve that genetic pool, because there are only about 24 or so left. So it's a daunting task, but I'm so excited that we are doing this because the lessons learned may in fact help save other species, particularly marine mammals like our friends here, the dolphins.
Well, I know that we have reading various, I get just sucked into 1,000 books about recovery of wildlife. And I do know we've been successful, even when the numbers have gotten really, really dire with a couple of species. And we've lost probably more than we've saved. But there is a chance that we can do that. And I love that you just brought that full circle from the positive reinforcement all the way to them working for us to save their cousins, which is great. And one of our friends actually said, we were talking about positive reinforcement, and somebody that has a couple of kids said, kids too. Yes, absolutely. That's huge to use positive reinforcement.
It is.
More dolphins?
More dolphins just swam by. It is the way to go. And there are ways to ignore incorrect responses or things we want our kids and our animals not to do, or even ourselves not to do in the future. But it really hinges on, are you a generous soul? Can you talked about expecting things of your horses. A lot of the most successful trainers are the ones that are generous. They give. Successful training is about giving to the animals, providing them what they need, and trying to match their needs at any given moment for the behaviors that we see them do successfully. And to me, that's the real joy, because it allows us to be joyful. I love your work, Sandra, because you're such a joyful person. The work you do with clients, with businesses, with your horses, with your animals, it just exudes the positive that I know is in your heart. Even though we've never met in person, you demonstrate it all the time. And that's, to me, that epitomizes training with positive reinforcement and what zookeepers and zoo trainers are trying to do around the world.
Well, I really appreciate it. I know we got to let you go. We're short on time today, and I want to thank the folks that are here live as well for coming in. And when you said you were going to be in Oahu and you're going to be out at the lagoon, I'm thinking free Wi-Fi from the hotel, that you would be pixelated and we wouldn't hear you, but it worked out great. And we have a shot, and there's another dolphin behind you. Ah.
Yeah, we need a closing shot here, guys.
Come on,
hey, just real quick. If your viewers out there, your fans out there want to help, they can go to VakitaCPR.org, I believe. VakitaCPR.org.
Spell Vakita for us, and I'll see if I can put up a link in the comments. But you want to spell it for us right now?
VAQUITA-CPR.
Okay. All right.
Perfect.
And I will locate that, and I'll put it in the comments underneath, so we can go there. But yeah, I love that anything that is positive also, Gray, I can usually go with happening in the world. I can go to your Facebook page, and I can find
Facebook. It's Zoomility is our Facebook page, ZOOMILITY.
Same as your book.
Book comments are there, but also iReinforce.com. iReinforce.com. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. That is really awesome.
This is fun. And
I feel like we're almost in the same room. We're almost in the same room, Gray.
We are. We'll get there.
We have so much in common. We both have German Shepherds. Like, there's got to be a way that we can figure out a way to work in person together, instead of getting further away. So.
All right. Well, you come to Phoenix, or I'll come to Austin one of these days.
Okay, that sounds good. 2 hot climates. We'll try to figure that out.
Hey, thanks so much, everybody.
In like Colorado or something.
Yeah. Although Hawaii's nice too. It's nice to meet
That's true. That is true. So maybe we can work that one out. Thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you, Gray, for all your wisdom. We really appreciate it. It's a great way to head into the weekend. Enjoy your wife's birthday. It looks like it's going to be fantastic. Tell her I said happy birthday.
I will, and have a great day. And thanks for all your positive energy, Sandra. It really is a bright start. Thank you.
You as well, Gray. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Aloha.